everybody, and welcome back to another bus episode. My name is Johnny. This is
Reagan.
And that's our bus, Miles of Smiles. We're glad to see you. We kind of left you guys hanging again last week. You can't tell, we're nice and bronzed. We were out in the Florida sun. Took a little trip with Reagan's family, so had a week off of bus building and videos. It was great to get away, but we missed you guys, and we're happy to be back. Happy to be back with Miles. We just did a bunch of deliberation we've been here for probably an hour now. We've just been inside figuring out what we're gonna do. Really trying to plan a little bit, steps, and thinking about what the steps moving forward that we need to get done next so we can get some other big things done. So today we're gonna tackle cutting out some more rusty metal. It should be the last of cutting out rusty metal, fingers crossed. And Reagan is gonna start tearing out some old crappy boards in the ceiling so we can start getting some framing in, some furring strips. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's an exciting step.
Yeah, we pretty much, I think, have figured out how we're gonna do our framing. Like I said, we're in there talking, and we may actually even go get some lumber today to start adhering some boards to the ceiling. So we'll talk about that later, but for now we're gonna get some things together so we can get working. Guys, we don't know what's going on right now. Full panic mode. Our favorite tool is gone. One of our top 5 favorite tools. If you haven't watched the video, go watch it now. It's right here. But our paint scraper's missing. We're trying to use it to scrape some of these old boards off the ceiling, and we can't find it. It's the perfect tool for the job, but we can't find it. So we've been looking for like 10 minutes, going through everything, and I swear I remember even like putting it away last time. Apparently not, so we're gonna keep searching.
So we never did find the dang paint scraper, but that's alright, we went and picked up a new one later in the day. What we're trying to do here is scrape old wood off of the fiberglass shell that makes up the roof. This wood was rotted out, we had some water damage from the AC unit in the back, and it only reached about to the emergency exit, and the wood moving forward was good enough and adhered well enough that we wanted to keep it. So we're just scraping it out. Here's me cutting a little bit of metal, nothing too special, and we're back. Watch closely and you can see the roof move up and down as we reposition the poles. Again, this is just one big piece of fiberglass that we'll add support into to maintain the perfect shape, that original shape that the bus came with.
All right, guys, well, we got a little distraction, had some family distractions come, and we haven't been working for like the last 2 hours or so. We were about ready to go to lunch and go get some lunch, and they called and said, hey, are you at the building and do you want some lunch? And we said sure. So they stopped by and had some lunch and chatted, and then we still had to go run some errands that we were gonna run when we went and got lunch. So we went and did that, went to Home Depot, picked up some adhesive, some metal cutting wheels, and some sandpaper so that we can hopefully put a couple furring strips up and get them set, get the adhesive setting, and go from there. So it's time to see how this goes. I'll get the adhesive in here and we'll kind of show you here what we're thinking maybe. All right, so here is what we're using. 3M 5200 marine adhesive. Like I said, stuff that we put in our walls. So the reason we're having to use this is because we're literally, this is like one sheet of fiberglass and then we're to the outside of the bus. So we have nothing we can fix it into. These existing running boards that were here that we were just cutting out, were basically 2 layers of 1/2 inch thick plywood that were both adhered together and adhered to the outside of the bus. So we were going for about 1.5 to 2 inches of thickness in the ceiling for insulation. And so being that a 2x4 is exactly 1.5 inches thick, I know it doesn't make sense, but if you don't know that already, yes, a 2x4 is not a 2x4. Anyways, since 2x4 is 1.5 inches thick and they're plenty strong, we're gonna actually adhere those to the ceiling. There was only 2 runners running vertically on the bus, and now we're probably gonna do about 7 or 8 instead. So we're gonna add a lot more of them, and these are gonna be constantly pushed up against with support. So obviously 2x4s weigh a little bit, but I'm not really worried about them, you know, being a serious amount of weight. And as we add more into the ceiling, it's only gonna strengthen this fiberglass hull, especially as we push up into it. So we're gonna use this trusty adhesive. It takes about 7 days to set. So that's one of the reasons we wanted to start doing this today. Is we kind of have to do a few boards at a time because we don't have a ton of stuff to hold the boards up with. I don't want to, take the boards down 3 days in, because this does say it takes 7 days to fully cure. So want to respect that, and obviously try and let it do its job properly. So we're just gonna sand down where we take out some of the existing boards and start building from the back. We're probably just gonna get 2 boards in today, see what it's like, kind of propping them up, and then we'll go from there. So let's get sanding and hopefully this works out.
Believe it or not, there's still some fiberglass on the interior we have to trim out, and so that's what we started with here, trimming a little bit of fiberglass to give the 2x4s a good even backstop. Then we sanded it down with 60 grit sandpaper and wiped it down with acetone per the instructions on the 5200. Now if you watch the roof again, you'll see just how flimsy it is, and you'll see it moving up and down as we adjust the poles and try and get these in the right position. We felt it was really important to get pressure on the ends and the middle of the board as we were putting them up, as to not bend the board and have a situation like we did in our wall where a board slightly pulled away and pulled the adhesive off. We're trying to avoid that here in the ceiling, so we really wanted to maintain even pressure as the adhesive set.
Alright guys, the first 2 furring strips of the entire bus are up. So we had to use all 3 poles. We couldn't really find anything else to hold them up with. So these are gonna sit tight and hold this tight for a week now. And then we'll shift them and do the next ones. Thankfully the next section's probably only gonna be about 4 feet, because at least for these 2 boards, the existing plywood moving forward was fine, so we're keeping those, so we'll just add another 1/2 inch of plywood on those, which actually, we could even do that
You can do that now?
now. Because we could just screw into the other ones.
Oh. Oh, then let's just do that. We have the plywood.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we did. We took some old plywood we had laying around and cut it down into 3 3/4 inch strips, which matched the existing plywood strips that were on the ceiling. And we had the idea of just screwing it with a little bit of adhesive to help hold it together and be able to fixate these and create the thickness that we wanted to match the 2x4s that we'll be putting in the rest of the bus. Here we are on Tuesday. My goal was to cut all the metal out, but didn't just quite get there. This is pretty tedious, and I had to look out for a lot of wires and coolant lines and things that ran underneath this part of the seat. So I slowly cut away, making sure I wasn't cutting anything bad underneath, and what I revealed was not exactly ideal.
Well guys, it's Tuesday here at the bus. and I'm discouraged, and just had to admit that. Kind of came here and was hoping to get a little bit of work done on the bus, and also on my car. I just needed to replace an O2 sensor, which probably doesn't mean anything to a lot of you, but basically it's just screw one thing out, screw the next thing back in, and replug the wire back in, and the thread stripped on the O2 sensor in the exhaust manifold, which is awesome. What was going to be a really easy thing to do while I was up here on the bus turned into a headache that now my car is going to sit here until I can get the right tool and re-tap that. So that's a little bit annoying. And then I was cutting some metal. It's been a little tedious, and also what I'm finding, not gonna lie, is a little discouraging and a little unnerving, I guess I could say. We've got some pretty serious rust issues under there, and some issues that are going to be a bit of a challenge to overcome, just because this is a much more integrated part of the chassis. It's not so simple. The floor supports was much more obvious what to cut out and what was what you could separate. You could really separate the floor supports from everything else, whereas this framing that we're cutting out or cutting into here is a little bit more intricate and involved and not just square tubing. So I'm finding some pretty serious rust, things that I would have never been able to find or notice otherwise, because I didn't know to look for them when we bought the bus. Even once we had the bus, it's pretty hard to see from underneath and kind of where this is at. So it's kind of definitely discouraging. Just, you know, one thing after another, the car and now this. And I don't want to be afraid to admit that. And I came here with the intentions of, coming and getting some good bus work done and getting a video out for you guys by tomorrow. That was my intention of coming here tonight, was to kind of do a second part of the video, but I'm kind of struggling to stay motivated right here, right now. And I just guess the reason I say all this is just to kind of say, it's going to happen. And this is really the first time I've felt it while I've been here, and just felt really frustrated and overwhelmed, I guess you could say, just with now this new obstacle to tackle. Certainly we're going to take it head on. You guys, if you watched our channel, you know what, we try to maintain a positive attitude, and just I try to think about not necessarily how bad a situation is, but what can you do to make it better? What can be done to change it? What can you use at your disposal in that moment or in the moments following to change that situation? And so right now, this is a lot to take in, and I'm discouraged, and that's okay. You're going to get discouraged during your build, but it's important, I think, what you do when you realize that, or what you do with that discouragement, and that you don't let that continue to drive you down or fill you with doubt. And not gonna lie, I'm doubting myself a little bit right now. There's parts of me that doubts, okay, did we do all this and now we're gonna have to throw this bus away? Is this fixable? I don't know. It's kind of a reality I'm facing in my mind right now, and I think that's why I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, is because of what I'm finding and what I'm seeing, and also because I don't know. And it's going to take probably somebody who knows better than I do to tell me how to fix this, or us to slowly peel it apart and fix it ourselves. While this is Miles of Smiles, and we love smiling and staying positive, and keeping our heads up and really just keeping the right perspective, at the same time, sometimes you can't control your feelings and your emotions in a moment, but it's how you react to them that really matters. So I think I'm going to take this discouragement, frustration from the car, from this right now, and go home and relax with Reagan, prepare for a video shoot I've got tomorrow. Take some time to really think in and kind of maybe do some research on the bus situation here. But most importantly, going to move forward with a good attitude and think about what we can do, how I can solve these problems, what I can get going to get my car going and fix these issues we got here, talk to the right people, rather than sulking and just thinking about how bad or how challenging or how much of a hassle or how much this may set us back or whatever that may be. Rather than thinking those thoughts, want to think positively moving forward. I think this is going to turn out to be a really weird video, so I apologize for that. Our videos recently haven't had much solidarity to them, or they haven't had much defined. They haven't been very defined, I guess we should say. They've been kind of all over the place, been doing bits and pieces of different projects, but we'll get that back on track for you guys. Obviously, we missed last week's post, but hey, let's restart the streak this week and get back to regular Wednesday posting. More bus work coming up this weekend for us, probably even the rest of this week. Hell, I gotta come rescue the car, so I'm gonna be coming to the bus. So most definitely a great episode coming to you guys next Wednesday. I hope you still like this episode. Hope you still learned something. Even though it wasn't the most exciting, I hope that's at least at the end here. Kind of speak some words of wisdom to you guys and get a little real. Because I was feeling a little real and I felt like I didn't, I was just gonna, you know what? We won't post a vlog tomorrow. I didn't really get work done today. I really didn't, want to say much to the camera, but I wanted to get something out, and I think this is also just one of those real moments that I'm feeling right now. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I love you, Mom, because if you're not my mom and you made it this far, you must just really love us, which is great. And so that means you should be subscribed if you're not subscribed. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.